I get up early, 4 a.m. I've done that my whole entire career, and it allows me to get to the office super early, and I have a ton of time in the morning to work on myself and the business so that when it's time to go home at the end of the day, I just leave it all at the office and I can be present for my wife and kids.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tau. And as always, as I begin these episodes, I always like to thank the sponsors who allow me to come to your inbox every single Friday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with a brand new episode. So I want to thank Dental Intelligence, CallRail, and Net32 for their continued support. I also want to remind everybody that next September, it's actually a 3-day event. We're moving from 2 days to 3 days. Supercharged Dental Practice 2026 will be back in Fort Lauderdale at Pier 66. So it's September 25th, 26th, and 27th. New speakers will be announced shortly, but you want to check it out. You can go to superchargerdentalpractice.com to find out more. We're currently in the early bird stages, so you can get a very inexpensive price for an amazing event. Check it out on social media. People and attendees were raving about it for 2025. Today's episode is called Consumer Demand plus Tech plus Affordability equals a Massive Opportunity. Today's guest is Dr. Brian Harris. Brian Harris is one of the nation's leading experts in cosmetic dentistry and practices in Phoenix, Arizona. He is passionate about helping dentists do more of dentistry they love doing. His innovative ideas around patient communication and case acceptance will transform the way you communicate with your patients and drastically increase your case acceptance. So please welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast, Brian Harris. Brian, thank you so much for joining me today, especially early where you are in Arizona.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, it's an honor to be here, and I know we've been trying to do this for about a year and a half now, and I love that our schedules finally were able to align. So,
well, I appreciate you joining me today, and I'm excited to talk about your kind of what you've created in the industry, how you got there. Obviously, a little bit on cosmetics as well. So why don't we start off and just tell people kind of a little bit about your practice, what you have out there that helps dental practices, because I think you have a really cool product that is available, and I definitely want to spend some time talking about this during the episode. I had told you that the owner who bought me, or my associate who bought me, is a big fan of your product, so she has told me many things about it, and I never personally used it myself, but I know she's a big fan. So why don't we start there, and then we'll jump into some of the other things we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so I'll make a really long story, super short, but I've been practicing about 21 years now. My dad was really kind of part of the first cosmetic revolution in the 90s, and I saw him go through a massive transformation personally and professionally, and I think that's when I realized I wanted to be a cosmetic dentist and to kind of follow his lead. And fast forward to about 2016, 2017, I just recognized, a huge opportunity for us as dentists. I saw that the way we always presented treatment was really broken, and there was so much selling happening and trying to convince people to get these elective procedures done, and I decided to flip the script and instead of making it, difficult for patients to work with us, I tried to look for every possible opportunity to give them exactly what they wanted to know and to do it in a way that was easy. And everything really changed since then. Went from doing 1 smile case a week to 3 every day, and it's been like that ever since. And we continue to book out several months in advance, and it's been awesome, man. But I would say the most rewarding part of all of it is just seeing all of the other dentists that have now, followed really that same path and are just doing more of the dentistry they love to do.
Well, that's great. It's very hard to, this day and age, to find something that you not only love to do, but that you can do it every single day of your career, and continue to do it, versus your typical general dentist will do, in a day could do 10 or 15 different procedures. You're obviously very much focused on the cosmetic side of things. That's what you fell in love with, and it's nice you're able to do that. So can you, I think a big part of this was, I think you found social media very early in its existence. I was one of the very first practices to have a Facebook page. And I used social media in the very early ages. which got me a little bit where I was going. And obviously, I haven't. I found online reviews, and that changed my career. Obviously, I ended up getting out of clinical dentistry because of it. In your case, you found very early a way to get your word out using the social channels. So can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's what makes you unique. And there's a couple of other dentists who I've had on my podcast over the years who took to social media differently than the average dentist did, and their careers are in a very different place than it would have been without it. So can you just talk about that a little bit, because I think that's a big part of your journey.
Yeah, I would love to. I think, and I would start off by saying, like, everything we talk about today, whether you love doing cosmetic dentistry or all-on-4 procedures or Invisalign, whatever it is, like, the same principles apply. I think a lot of times people think of social media now and they think like, oh, well, it's too late. There's no sense in trying to start now because everybody else has, several years head start on. And what I would say to that is it's never too late. The thing about social media is that, everyone has their own like circle of influence. And, a great example is my brother, Scott, and myself. We practice together. We're partners. I would say more than half of his followers don't even know that I exist, and vice versa, even though we talk about each other and tag each other at times. And it's just because like he's found a way to influence his people in his own way. And I think the key with social media is, two things. One, just get started, regardless of where you're at. If you haven't started yet, start. And if you've started and you haven't, seen the growth that you would have liked over the years, just really focus on being yourself. I think where people get it wrong a lot of times is they try to mimic what somebody else is doing, or they try to, they overthink their posts or they overthink their content. And the best thing is just get on, post about who you are, what you do, the kind of people you serve, and just be consistent with it. And it will eventually drive results. It really will.
Well, I think a big thing also is you have to be genuine. You can't hire a company just to post, custom or not custom stuff and all the stuff that is repeated online. You've got to come up with your own style. You've got to come up with your own brand, and you've got to be genuine out there. And that means, taking photos in your office and doing things of what happens real life in your practice. And I think too many people rely on other companies to do that, and I don't think it's as effective, obviously. And it's very hard to get any, momentum going, as I think would be a fair thing to say. Do you agree with that?
100% agree with that. And I think we overcomplicate it. Nowadays, like you could put into chat like the top 20 questions that everybody has about porcelain veneers, or top 20 concerns. Print that off, go down to the office on a Friday and use your iPhone, just set it up and sit in front of the phone and read question number 1. Hey, great question here. How do you know, what the best material to use is, and is there different types of porcelain? And then just start answering the question. And don't answer from a place of trying to impress every dentist that's going to be following you. Answer specifically for the person on the other end that has no idea what veneers are, and just speak in terms that they're going to connect with and understand. And so you can take that. That's one idea of how you can create, 20 different posts and then space those out over time. You can take your phone, set it up. Let's say you're a CEREC dentist, prop it up in front of your screen when you're designing your CEREC, and then go and prop it up in front of when it's milling, and then prop it up when you're polishing it. And then just do a sped up video showing the whole sequence and talk about same day crowns. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can create amazing content. And if you just think purely from a patient's perspective, like, man, what do they want to see? It makes it a lot easier.
What do you think is the ideal length, number 1? And then 2, there's obviously some sites have proliferated over the years. And there's many, many social media platforms now. Which ones do you think are the best ones if you were looking to grow or just starting out and looking to find a place? One thing that's very different with the new generation of dentists who are coming in there, they have something that we didn't have when we were starting out. They have social capital. They have a huge foundation already set up on social media. They may not have the financial aspect, but they definitely have the social aspect of it. So which sites for someone just starting out would you say are most important? I think I know, but I wanted to ask you because you're obviously on these sites more than anybody.
Yeah, I think Instagram is like, if you're going to start somewhere, 100% Instagram. It's where most of the people making buying decisions are hanging out. And the great thing about Instagram is because it's meta with Facebook, you can post on Instagram, it'll automatically post to Facebook. So you can just focus on one platform and take care of two. Now, if you want to get in on the TikTok side of things, you can. It's a different game. It's more entertainment. I personally don't do a lot on there just because, it gets time consuming when you're trying to be on every single platform. So I'd say at the very least, Instagram, which will then get you on Facebook. And then if you have time, then you can play around on TikTok and YouTube and some of the other platforms.
And then where do you think, like you're talking about like a question of the week or something, and you can say, hey, these questions were submitted. I picked one of my favorites. It could be total, not the truth, but nobody's going to know that. What do you think is the ideal length to sit there and talk about? Is it 30 seconds, a minute? Where do you think is your...
Yeah, I'd say I try to do it under a minute. So anything longer than that's too much, and then you're over explaining. So I think the goal of keeping it under a minute is great.
Got it. And then you said, I think in the beginning, you said you started this and you got really involved in this in 2016, 2017. Obviously, cosmetic dentistry has always been available. I think COVID really changed the way we look at our teeth, and that's why you had this huge boom in aligners and even cosmetic dentistry. So can you talk about the direction that cosmetics has gone the last number of years? And then why is there so much of a demand, and how you are able to, one, keep up with the demand, how you're able to separate yourself from other cosmetic dentists on the social side of things I'm talking about, and kind of what you offer to prospective patients?
Yeah, I think it's changed so much since the rise of social media. And what's fascinating is that a lot of doctors that initially came through my cosmetic training courses are now out there just a few years later doing work that's substantially better than what I'm doing. And it's not just even that there's more amazing cosmetic dentists out there, but because there's so many cosmetic dentists out there now posting about what they're doing, now the patient population is more educated now than ever before. So everybody knows what porcelain veneers are. They even know, like, if they were going to do them, the actual shade that they would choose. There's so much information out there that now there's so many more dentists doing it, so many more patients that know about it. So we've kind of come to this golden age and opportunity where, everybody's educated, and now being able to offer, a mid-tier product, that is still, as good as looking as porcelain veneers, but at a price point that's a little bit lower. I think that's the next big move in cosmetic dentistry. And I've seen that already, with the rise of 3D printing. I, for a year and a half, sat on the sidelines and just waited for the technology and the materials to get to a point where it was acceptable. And just recently, about 4 months ago, with the launch of these new HT materials, like now, aesthetically, it's at a place where, I think it's the next big thing. And I've started actually teaching courses on smile design using 3D printed process, and they sell out every time we open a new one. It sells out because the dentists see the opportunity, being able to come out with a product that takes half as long as traditional porcelain veneers, and able to charge half as much. It opens up a whole new opportunity now for patients in the middle that have wanted something but maybe couldn't afford it.
So you mentioned that you do, your practice is mainly focused on cosmetics. Is it 100% cosmetic dentistry at this point, where someone else does your general and the operative stuff, but you're focused 100% on general dentistry? So obviously you have a significant amount of leads that are coming in that require that, and I'm assuming they're coming from all over the country. And is that fair as well?
Yeah, about 65% out of state.
Okay, so you have this huge reach. You obviously have put a system in place with your software, with your leads that you get. So can you just kind of you don't have to go into a very detailed process here, but can you talk about how, literally things are handled from when you get the original lead, someone sees you on Instagram, they want to find out more, they connect with the office or whoever you connect them with. What's the process that someone goes through, especially, coming from out of state? How long does it take? And you mentioned the 3D printed veneers are a big thing now, that they're saving time and money. So can you just kind of put a timeline or put something in so people can visualize how you operate in your practice?
Yeah. Man, I love this question. And I think it's a real reason behind the success of what we're doing. And so, we talk about this idea of a funnel, and really a funnel in marketing is, it's the place where you send all of your leads to. And for me, the opening of that funnel is Smile Virtual. So I use the Smile Virtual platform. That is where I send every lead, and I'll explain why here in a minute. But if you go like on my Instagram page, you'll see every post has a call to action. The call to action is the same every single time. It's, hey, interested in improving your smile, click the link in my bio, upload a smile photo, and I'll get back to you, with an idea of what's possible. And so I send everybody through there first because it's easy. There's no barriers. It's free. And then once they're in the Smile Virtual platform, now when I have time, I usually record every Thursday, and I'll sit down and I'll record videos for patients. And knowing that some of those patients are not ready to move forward, some will never move forward, but it's a funnel. And so in that video, I don't try to sell anything. I purely just educate. I just say, hey, this is Dr. Harris, great to connect. I know this is unique because you can't talk back to me. So it's not a live video. I record when I have time, then I send it, they watch it when they have time. And it lets you control the sales process. So within that video, that's where I just say, hey, here's something I think would be a great option for you. You could go with 10 porcelain veneers, and this is what it would cost, and this is the process. But also you'd be a great Smile Sculpt candidate for 3D printed veneers if that's something you're interested in, and this is what it would cost. So in that video, then I can give them the two different options, tiered pricing, different products, different price points, and it really kind of covers everybody. So once they are ready to move forward, then we get about a 92% close rate on cases over $10,000 once they walk into the practice, because they've already seen the video, they know what's possible, they know what they want.
And then someone comes in, they travel from out of state, they're obviously staying over. What's the typical time frame from start of a case to when they're completed and leave?
Yeah, my process is a little different. I do what's called a smile test drive, which is a freehand flowable composite mock-up that I do on all my patients. And so I don't typically do wax up. So if a patient is flying in, they will have gone through the virtual consult. At the end of the virtual consult, there's a link on there to connect with my team. My team then goes over financing options, how far out we're booked. We'll find an appointment for them. And then when they come in and see me, and they'll, at that point, they'll get, the most recent x-rays, they'll gather all the information. So when they come and see me for the first time, we visit for a little bit. Then I start with the test drive and kind of show them what's possible, what it's going to look like. They give me the thumbs up, and then we prep that same day. I use the test drive to make my temporary matrix, and we put them in temporaries that same day, and then we seat exactly 1 week later. So it's 2 visits, 1 week apart, and everything's just dialed in during that process.
Well, that's amazing. So you mentioned something you mentioned in the conversation that I want to pick up. I picked up on was you have this, you have your conventional, veneers that you're doing, but now you have something that you think is going to transform the dental industry. So can you talk about this this printed veneer resin material? Because I think that is obviously a game changer with the way 3D printers are in making things so much easier. Can you just talk about, because that's honestly, since I'm out of practice 3 years now, that's something that's obviously been changing over the years. So can you talk a little bit about that and why you think it's going to transform the dental industry?
Yeah, I think so. There was a time where, all of us, we would like to say that we have options for our patients for improving their smile. And maybe we talk about bonding or we talk about composite veneers, but the reality is to do composite veneers and to do them well. Like there's, guys like Marshall Hansen are just amazing. They're the best at it. There's doctors out there that are just amazing at doing composite veneers, and they should continue doing them because they're great at it. For most of us that have gone to their courses with the intent of getting really good at it, and we come home and we're like, wow, that's actually really hard. It's hard to do it all by hand. It's hard to get everything to polish and look good now, but then to look good a year from now. And so there's always been this gap of like, it's either bonding or it's porcelain. And what the 3D printed process allows us to do is design a smile digitally, 3D print it to a level of accuracy that rivals anything that can be pressed or designed by a lab, and have them ready to go and bond in just like a traditional porcelain veneer case. So now I can offer kind of this mid-tier product, but I don't have to worry about freehanding it, shaping it. I don't have to worry about isolation, one tooth at a time, making sure I don't bond contacts together. I just design it, print. I don't even design it myself. I've got third-party designers that I use overseas that design it for me, send it to my printer. I just print it out, polish it, and then we bond it in place like a traditional veneer case. But it's made out of a porcelain resin hybrid. So, it's not as strong as Emax, but it's stronger than what Empress used to be. And, there are limitations. There's limitations from when it comes to color. They make a really great bleach color in a B1, but it's not like you have 10 different bleach shades to choose from. So there's limitations, but what I've found is that, it's going to be an interesting product because it's all one solid product. It's not built in layers. I've done about 20 smile cases with it now, and mentoring a lot of other doctors on how to do it. And it's been awesome to see what they're able to do for their patients now, just using a different process and product.
You talk about when you meet with them, virtually, or when you set up a video to meet with them virtually. It doesn't, not everybody obviously becomes a patient, but you give them obviously options now, and obviously you'll have the conventional cosmetic dentistry, which is significantly more expensive. You talked about now you have something that is not as high quality, but is a moderately priced product. Can you talk about where that, just from someone thinking about, well, how much does this cost for, you do 8 or 10, 12 veneers, whatever it is, using the 3D printed process versus doing, conventional porcelain? Where are you in the price range generally?
Yeah, so part of the strategy is being able to explain that to patients with, number one, without devaluing what you're doing in porcelain, but also building value to what this printed process allows. And so for me, it's a simple conversation. I just tell my patients like, hey, if you are looking to do this, you want total freedom, you want the best possible aesthetics, you want to build in translucency and all these things, then go the porcelain route, 20-year fix plus. Cost to do that for 10 teeth is going to be $25,000. If that's outside of a budget that you're comfortable with and you're still wanting kind of this new look and this transformative look and still want a product that looks amazing, but it's more of a 7 to 10-year fix, then I would go the 3D printed route. It looks awesome. We have a little bit more limitations when it comes to color. But the cost is about $12,500 for the same procedure, and so it's exactly half of my porcelain veneer fee. The reason I do that is it takes exactly half the time. So, I set it up in a way where, to me, it doesn't matter whether they choose the printed process or the porcelain process. They're both amazing products and they're both equally as profitable for me. With the printed process, there's no temporaries, there's no numbing, it's traditionally a minimal or no prep process. And it's been great. I finished a case last week where we did 10 Emax veneers on the top. And then she's like, man, my tops look so great. I wish I could do something on the bottom, but she's maxed out budget wise. And she needed to redo crowns on her lower molars anyway. And so we came up with a game plan where we did 4 crowns on the lower. It allowed us to open her bite a little bit in the back. and then we did 10 printed veneers on the lower to match the uppers perfectly. So she has 10 Emax veneers on top, 4 zirconia crowns in the posterior, and then 10 printed veneers on the lower, and all of it looks like it's the same smile, just different materials for different processes.
Interesting. I'm curious. When I still remember when I was started to really go to the paid advertising side of things a number of years ago. I had people come in who had zero understanding of what things cost. And I still remember there was a patient who came in and I said, "What can I help you with?" She said, "I'm looking for dental implants." I'm like, "Oh, that's great. What's your budget?" And she said, actually, she had no teeth, put it this way. Okay. So she was looking to replace all her teeth. And I said, "What's your budget?" She said, $3,000. I'm like, it was my shortest consult ever, because I'm saying you can't even get a single implant for $3,000. And she got up and walked out of the office. So, people talk about qualified buyers and stuff. How many times do you come across someone who has literally no understanding of what things cost? Obviously you're at $25,000 for an upper, for conventional, porcelain type of stuff, and you're half the price, 50% of the price, $12,500. Are there people who simply don't understand what those costs, and that's like totally blowing their mind as well? I'm curious what your experience is with some of the ways you're advertising and getting and attracting patients.
Yeah. So the great thing is, I never have a patient in my practice now that's surprised about the cost ever, because I'm able to do all of that in my video consult. So if I record 10 video consults, 4 of those actually will be in my practice within the next couple months, ready to move forward, paying full fee. So that means there's 6 people out there that for whatever reason, like, they're not ready to move forward. And so I can imagine within those 6, there's at least 2 or 3 that are like, whoa, I had no idea that it costs that much. And the great thing is, like, I feel like I can still serve them and help them and give them advice and let them know what's possible. But they didn't have to drive across town, get a babysitter, pay me, go through the process, be embarrassed and be like, oh, I had no idea. Like, they can do that from the comfort of their own home. So that process alone allows you to kind of weed out those that maybe aren't ready yet, but not from a place of, I'm too good for that, almost more from a place of total service of like, hey, yeah, you're going to get weeded out, but I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to give you my time, and I'm going to do it for free because I really do care about you. And when you are ready to move forward, then hopefully, this consult, is impactful enough to where you'll want to work with me. So, I think one of the greatest things we can do to serve our patients is give them an idea of what's possible before they ever step foot in the practice, so that they don't leave upset or embarrassed. I think it's awesome letting them know on the front end.
Well, that's great. So I have two last questions. Number one is, where do you see what do you think are the big trends now, and where do you see things changing in the next number of years? That's one question. And then I'll ask you one question before we kind of wrap up and go to our Q&A, our lightning round Q&A. But where do you see things, what are the big things right now, and where do you see things moving in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years on the cosmetic side of things?
Yeah, I think patient demand is just going to keep going up and up and up, because as more doctors are doing it, more patients have it. Now there's other tier products kind of working into the system. The desire for this type of procedure is going to be around for a long time. And I think we forget sometimes that, I've got patients out there that have had their veneers in for 20 years. Now we're coming up on like time to like redo things. So I think cosmetic dentistry is just going to continue to grow. I think the doctors that win in that are those that are looking for ways to simplify the process for their patients, whether that's simplifying the financing side of it, or simplifying the number of visits, or the number of options that they give. I think I'm really bullish right now on these printed materials, just because I think it's just going to get better and better and better. Materials are going to improve, aesthetics are going to go up, stronger materials are going to come out, and I actually think it's going to help reel in the costs a little bit of what this stuff costs. Now, there's always going to be doctors charging crazy fees because they're in demand. But I see a lot of opportunity in the cosmetic space. I really do. What was that second question?
Well, no, I was going to say, so the second question is you obviously have a number of things that are facing the dentist, people listening to the podcast. So you've got your software, you've got you mentioned classes that you give. So can you talk about just, hey, these are the ways I have available to help dental practices or help dentists focus or get more into the cosmetic realm of things?
Yeah, my whole thing now is like, I'm at a point in my career where, I just really enjoy seeing other people win. And so, whether it's a doctor just getting started and wants to start using Smile Virtual, got an amazing team, that can get them onboarded and up and going with the platform. And then there's awesome training behind all of that, great community within Smile Virtual. I run a mastermind, a business mastermind, about 30 dentists. That's a more elite group, and that's more for those that are like feeling stuck and wanting to like really go next level with things. We have monthly calls. We meet in person 2 times a year. We have big team meetings, and that's really for doctors that are like, all right, I'm done playing small. Like I just want to really step into my potential, and then Smile Sculpt, the whole 3D printed process. That's the thing I would say I'm most excited about right now because there's so much excitement around it. But yeah, we've got a course sold out actually coming up here in another week. And then January 9th is the next one in Gilbert, Arizona. We do like an all-day intensive, and then we all go over to my place that night and have a big dinner, and everybody gets to hang out and mastermind together. But yeah, I mean, just at Dr. Brian Harris on Instagram, probably the easiest way to get in touch with me, and always looking for ways to lift others up. So,
well, that's great. I mean, this was really great. So, is there anything that I'll get your contact information after the Q&A? But if there's anything that we didn't discuss that you wanted to prior to switching gears here?
No, surprisingly, I think we covered everything. So I think it's great.
All right, that's good. All right, so let's jump into the lightning round Q&A. These are going to be business related questions, Brian. You got to get through them fairly quickly here. All right, so let's see. Do you have a favorite business podcast?
Ooh, you know what? I love listening to Russell Brunson's podcast. Back in the day, I did a lot with ClickFunnels. I've always loved listening to him. I'm less on podcasts, more on audiobooks.
Got it. What book have you read multiple times, or what is your favorite book? Another way of asking the question.
I'll give you 2. Ego is the Enemy. Awesome book. I read that. I've read that 3 times over now. And then Ben Hardy, 10X is easier than 2X. Fantastic book, in my opinion, for those looking to scale and grow. Got
it. What habits have helped make you successful?
I get up early every day, 4 a.m. I've done that my whole entire career, and it allows me to get to the office super early, and I have a ton of time in the morning to work on myself and the business, so that when it's time to go home at the end of the day, I just leave it all at the office and I can be present for my wife and kids.
That's great. I know you give classes to dentists to help them on the cosmetic side. If you could take a class to learn anything you want, anything, not dental related, anything you want, what would it be on?
Man, I would learn how to, maybe a class on how to say no.
That was one of the questions also that we asked. Is it easy for you to say no? And so that's an interesting one. Yeah. All right, let's see here. What was the first thing you wanted to be when you grew up, when you were a kid?
I had always wanted to be Special Forces, FBI. I actually had an application filled out for the FBI after dental school when I was 6 years into practice. That's always something that's been fascinating to me.
That's great. How do you capture and keep track of ideas? Do you have a notebook? Do you do voice memos? What's the best way you stay organized?
I've got a notebook. I carry it everywhere I go. It's the easiest way for me to stay organized. I'm still more of a write it down and look back on it.
Got it. If you had a chance to start over again, what would you do differently?
Ooh, I try to live from a place of no regrets. I think every failure I've had has opened the door to something else. But I would say there's times along the way in my career where I got involved in different business opportunities, where I started something purely from a place of like, oh, this is a good idea. This could make a lot of money. And all of those ideas, when it was more of like focused on the dollar instead of like something I was truly passionate about, they never seemed to really play out. And the things that I focused on that I'm more passionate about have been some of the biggest wins I've had in my career.
That's great. What profession do you think is the most undervalued today? Could be anything.
I would say teachers. My wife taught full-time last year, 6th grade, when my daughter's teacher quit halfway through the year, and just seeing the amount of effort and time and work that goes into something that I don't think gets nearly the appreciation it deserves. I would say teachers.
All right, 2 last questions. Who has been your greatest inspiration?
I'd say my dad. Always forward-thinking, always putting people first before money. But I think, I didn't realize it early on in my career, but I think as time has gone on, I realized like, man, some of the things that he did has really helped shape me to who I am today.
That's great. That's awesome. Last question, and I ask this of everybody. So what is one subscription, either business or personal, doesn't have to be just business related, one subscription, which means you pay for it either monthly or annually, that you could not live without?
I would say Audible. I'm always downloading new books. I've got a decent commute into work every day, and I'm always listening to new ideas and new books. I think it's totally underrated.
That's great. So, Brian, I know you mentioned your website, I think, but if people have any questions, they want to find out more, they want to learn more about how you operate and things you do, can you just share your contact information again? And this was amazing. You did an amazing job. You've obviously done this before. But share your contact information for people so they can reach out if they have any questions.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's just at Dr. Brian Harris, just Dr. Brian Harris. Or email, just Brian with an I, Brian at drbrianharris.com. So drbrianharris.com.
And they'll be able to find information about your Smile Virtual. They have information about your classes.
Smilevirtual.com. You can go find out more information on there about what's available. I would say feel free to reach out to me directly, though. I can connect you with the right people, and I can get you more info on the upcoming courses.
Well, there you have it. Brian, this was amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. Guys, if you like the episode, please like it, please share it, please refer us to a colleague. If you hear them struggling about things related to cosmetic dentistry, Brian's the man. You can reach out to him to find out more about what he can do for your practice as well. As I want to thank the sponsors, Dental Intelligence, CallRail, and Net32 for their support. And as I end every single one of my my podcasts, that's what we're doing now, podcasts, remember, your reputation matters. Until the next episode, Brian, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you.